am just back from Hamburg. I came back from Hamburg on Tuesday night. This is Saturday, so I didn't just come back from Hamburg, I lied. It's been a few days or more since I came back. Every year, me and my friend Steph try and go to Germany because we are in love with the country. We just love Germany. We always have the best experience. For Steph's birthday, again this year, we decided to go to Hamburg because we've never been before. This is the only place so far that I've been in Germany that I wouldn't go back to again. I've written down like 10 different experiences that we had with creepy men in Hamburg, and I had my back up at all times. I've just never felt so unsafe before in Germany. Yeah, we had multiple experiences with creepy men that I'm going to go into in detail, but I'll tell you like about the trip in general and the absolute madness that we experienced, because oh my god, although I mean it was a fun trip and like there was parts of it that I absolutely loved, and I still think Hamburg was a really nice, pretty place, but I probably would go back. So we stayed in the St. Georg area. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. We stayed in Generator Hamburg, which is a hostel, and it's right across from the Hauptbahnhof. So the central station, we were right across from that, and like the location was so handy for everything. But and the hostel had really good reviews. Like I can't fault the hostel at all. It was perfect. It was clean, the staff were lovely, it had a bar, the room was like, it was basic but it had everything we needed, loads of plugs, a telly, the best window in the world, which we'll go into in a bit. I just loved the hostel. When we arrived, we noticed it was really busy when we got to the central station, and we noticed that it was a bit rough, but we never really thought much of it. We settle in and stuff and we decide, let's go to the shop and get some gin because priorities. It said on the map that we were like 2 minutes walk from a little shop, so we turned the corner and instantly just felt unsafe. We were getting leered at. It was like we were walking and men were like this, and it was like we were like, what the hell is going on? So we were just like, right, head down, just keep walking, don't look at anyone. We had men shouting at us. I had my phone out for directions, but I put it away because I was like, I don't want my phone to get stolen, because it just didn't feel right. It was loud. There was like people dealing drugs like right there, you know, we could see it. We saw it happen like countless times, like people just dealing drugs. And I mean, you see that everywhere, but to just see it so like we'd been there 2 minutes and it was just constant. Our gut was just, this doesn't feel right. Went into the shop, it was fine, we were still getting leered at. Some guy dropped his yogurt all over the floor and exploded, and I was like, oh mate, unlucky. He must have been so embarrassed because he was just sitting there like looking defeated with a bit of kitchen roll, just trying to like mop up this yogurt. But anyway, so we got our gin, back to the hostel, and we thought, let's have a couple of cocktails in the hotel and get a bit of dinner in the hostel, sorry. So we sat downstairs in the hostel bar, and this was our first encounter with one man who seemed harmless at first. We sat down and we noticed this man who was sitting on his own, and we instantly got our backs up because he was staring. And I know in other cultures and stuff, like there are cultures where people are a bit more curious and they do look a lot, but this was like this, like he was like just being very starey. We sat kind of far away from him, and he instantly moved round to the other side so he could look at us, and he moved closer. So he was now sitting directly opposite us, facing us. Like his table was against the wall, but he was sitting like round like that so that he could look at us. I went up to order, and as soon as I went up, I walked past him and he tried to speak to me. And I don't know what he said, but I panicked and I was like, ah, because I didn't want to talk to him because he was just so starey. But I pretended that I went like this, as if like, I thought I heard something there, but I'm just going to ignore it. I got our drinks, and then when I got back to the table, Steph said he tried to talk to me, and he said, I think he asked her where the toilet was, and she told him, but he didn't then go to the toilet, he just sat there. And it's like, why are you hanging about in a bar, like not drinking, and why didn't you ask the bar woman where the toilet was? Like, if you need the toilet, go and look for a toilet, like, you know. It was just, I think it was just a way to start talking to us. We just kept an eye on him, and he kept trying to talk to us, he kept looking at us. It was just being strange. And you know how you can tell the difference between when someone's being friendly and when someone, because we spoke to so many people on this holiday, but there was just something different about this guy. And even the bar woman clocked on, and then she started helping us like carry our stuff to the table, even though we didn't need help, but I think she was just kind of looking out for us. And then he eventually left, so we were like, right, thank God. Somebody was drilling upstairs and it sounded like a fart, and we were like, oh, he's found the toilet. And then when we got back to our hostel room, we were kind of looking around as if like, let's just check he's not there just in case, because we didn't want him to. We're sitting there thinking, like, if he asks where we're not staying here, we're staying with a friend in Ham. We found a place called Ham and we were like, we're staying in Ham with a friend. But we never actually saw this guy again. To be honest, I probably wouldn't even be able to recognise him again if I tried. That night, we decided, let's go to the Reeperbahn, because we had all these like bars and stuff starred and people had recommended the Reeperbahn for nightlife, so we thought, let's get a train to the Reeperbahn. It's a 10-minute train journey, and the Reeperbahn's sort of like Hamburg's red light district almost, but it's not like Amsterdam. There's no like girls in windows. Well, there is, I think, down one street, but women aren't allowed in that street and it's all like cordoned off, it's all boarded up and stuff. Like, women can't go down there. Apparently if women do go down there they get attacked or something, that's what I read. I loved the Reeperbahn, I will say that. I felt way more relaxed there. It wasn't sleazy, I didn't feel like I was getting stared at as much. It was mainly in the train stations where we had these experiences, and like I've never really had that before. I've had it once or twice elsewhere, but not like constant like this was. So the first thing we experienced when walking into Hamburg Hauptbahnhof, this was horrible, this was such a shame. And as soon as we walked in, we saw a man just lying along the floor, and there was a man and a woman with him, and they were sort of looking down at him, and I think they were checking to see if he was breathing, because he was out of it, man. We're thinking maybe he took an overdose or something, we're not sure, but the place is just rife with drugs. You see it constantly. But I was looking at this guy and I was like, he hasn't been alive for a while. His eyes were just, he was just glazed over. He was grey. I've never seen a human being that colour before. It was horrible, and the guy checked to see if he was breathing, and he wasn't breathing. More people started gathering. We were buying our tickets at this point, so we weren't like getting involved, we were just kind of watching from afar a little bit. And I just felt so bad. Like, imagine that was how you go, like in the middle of a train station, like surrounded by people. It's not very nice. It's a shame. But we're like, wow, our first night, and that's what we see as soon as we get there. We're like, wow. Then went to the Reeperbahn. We went to an Irish bar and we went to a rock bar, and it was really, really fun. We always end up in Irish bars randomly when we go to Germany. So cultured. But the next day we were very hungover. We went to Bremen, and it rained the whole time. The weather wasn't great the entire time we were in Hamburg, which was a shame, but it was still fun. We just walked about Bremen, got food. We went to this little place where we just couldn't get served at all. The woman just didn't give a shit. She was just like walking about, just ignoring everyone. She kept going to have a seat, the waitress, and she's just like, just hating her life. It was really funny, like the amount of people that were just so angry because they couldn't get served. We came back and we sat in the hostel having a few gins, looking at our amazing window, right? Our window. Who needs a TV when you have this window? It looked out onto a hotel. You could see into everyone's windows, and that's always fun. There wasn't a lot going on in these windows. We saw a guy sitting across in the window opposite, and we were like, ah. But you look down, so we had the resident homeless man who looked really like a guy we know's dad. We actually tried to find him on the last day to give him money, but he wasn't there. He was there the entire time, and then on the last day when we had our change, he just wasn't there. There was the resident prostitute. There was who we assumed was our pimp, who loved yogurt, so we sat and watched him eat a yogurt now, like every now and then. But anyway, so when we're looking at this window, we saw a woman and she just collapsed, and she was very like, she looked like she was really on something. Luckily over there, like, people stopped quite a lot. We didn't have to, we were like ready to go, but somebody stopped right then and there. They saw it happen as well. It was a man, and he got on the phone and he phoned an ambulance. Some other guy came and like emptied out her stuff onto the ground, and it's like, what are you looking for? So the medics came eventually and they got her up, and we thought, God, this is going to be another death that we're going to see in 2 nights. She ended up getting up, was walking, like, it was just like, wow, she's off her face. It was such a shame. And then she walked onto the road, and the medics, I think, were just like, screw this, we're off. So they left. We couldn't see down below us, so we couldn't see what happened to the woman after that, but hopefully she was alright. But honestly, we just sat for hours at a time out looking out this window, and it was so entertaining. Like, we watched the resident drug dealers, who, they all had 2 phones. Like, so many people, they had 2 phones, and it's like, The police did patrol around the area, which we read online that it wasn't a police patrolled area. The police station was right there as well, and we saw the police driving up and down a few times, and we saw the police like walking out and about, which felt better. But that night, yeah, we walked along the harbour. We instantly just felt better. We were like, right, this is a better area. You can just tell instantly it was a better area. We had our bottles of gin, and we were just like walking along the harbour, having a drink. We went to the Reeperbahn again. This was a very social night. It was fun. When we were sitting in the Irish bar again, just to start off for one drink at the start, and we get talking to a stag do, a German stag do, and they all had t-shirts of the stag and different like funny pictures. It was so funny. And then they got talking to us, not in a creepy way, they were really friendly. The one that started talking, he had the best laugh. It was so funny. We kept calling him lustig man, and he found it really funny. And we were all having a laugh, and they invited us to another bar, but we didn't go because it was too busy. We went to another rock bar, and when we were in this rock bar we get chatted up by two guys who we weren't interested in. We were just like, oh god, here we go. And then they got really annoying, and one of them loved TNT. TNT by AC/DC came on, and it was so funny because we were all like, oi, oi, and he was loving it, and he was like, ah, like pure singing away like a madman. And we were like, yeah, like, yeah, oh good. We were like, we're gonna go to the toilet. We went to the toilet and we ran away. I felt kind of bad, but he was like not for leaving us that night. He was just like, I show you around all the rock bars, and we were like, oh, we didn't want to be rude. But we ended up being very rude, and we left. We had had a few drinks by that point. I feel bad about that now, but we just didn't want to be like, sorry, we don't want to talk to you. We could have just been like, we are dating. That's what the excuse we use quite a lot actually, that me and Steph are dating. Oh yeah, and it was funny, in the station Steph dropped something, and this man, or he was about our age, he went, oh my god. And then he was like, oh, and it was funny because he just made a big mountain out of a molehill. And at the station as well, this guy, he was obviously quite drunk, and he came up, somebody's cutting their grass, and he had this like green anorak, like this waterproof rolled up, and he came up to us and he just went like this, and the anorak unravelled. And for some reason I thought this was the funniest thing in the world, because he had the most serious face, and it was as if he was like showing off, trying to do this trick, and he unravelled his jacket, and me and Steph went, oh, wow, are you a magician? Like, we were like, wow, this is amazing. We acted as if we'd done the best thing ever, and he was like, danke, danke. This is a terrible story. It was really funny. And then he went to the toilet, and then he came back, and we were chatting, and his friend just looked like he was in a mood the whole time. He stood way over there, and the guy was talking to us, and we were like, your friend is angry. And he was like, nah. Amongst all of this happening, we did have a few creepy experiences, which I'll go into, but this man, right, because we've been stared at so much, this guy looked at me, and I got my guard up. I'd had a few drinks, and I made the mistake of doing this. I went, because I was like, as if like, why are you staring? He wasn't even being creepy, he just looked at me, but he wasn't being weird. Like, he got off the train and he was looking, and he turned back, and I went, and I deserved it, because all he did was look at me, and I looked at him as well, so there we go. It was a two-way street. So he went, and I went, no, I went, and he went, and then he was walking out of the station, and he was going up the escalator, and this continued back and forth. It was so funny, back and forth for ages, until he got to the top of the escalator, and we were still going, making faces at each other, and it was funny. Anyway, I was like, that was a fun experience, that was a fun little exchange, made up for the creepiness that we experienced. We asked the jacket man to do the trick again, and he went, no. Cool story. So now I'm going to tell you all the experiences we had with creepy men. The first one we had was the one in the hostel. No, sorry, the first one was when we went round the corner to go to the shop, and the men were leering at us, and they were making kissy noises, and they were like, oh, and like walking next to us like really fast, and it was just horrible. And then we had the creepy man in the hostel. So that was like two experiences within a couple of hours. And then we get to the station, we see this man who died, and it was just like, what is going on? And that was our first experience of Hamburg. So I think maybe that whole experience maybe tainted the rest of the trip. I don't know. I think maybe if we'd stayed somewhere else and we didn't have those initial experiences, maybe we'd have a different view of Hamburg. But it just, stuff happened so often that it just kind of overtook the trip. When we were at the train station one of the first few nights, there was a man kind of lingering near us. He was probably about our age, and I looked at him, and he didn't see me looking at him, but he nodded at his friend. He nodded at us, and then he nodded at his friend across the platform, and I don't know if they were going to try and steal something from us or what they were going to do. They were plotting something to do with us, and we saw them like kind of make this plan. So we got on the train, and they got on the train, and they're standing near us, and then we got off the train, and then they got off the train, and I'm like, right, they're going to follow us. I pushed Steph aside, I made Steph stop, and like I pulled her aside, and we stood in with this family. The two men get back in the train after they saw that, and I was like, what were they planning on doing? So they gave up. That happened a few times with different men, like following us on the train. We get off, we stand away, and then they get back on the train because they're like, oh, sack that. And it actually happened with another man as well, who he was standing really close behind me on the train, and it was quite a busy train, but he didn't have to stand so close. And I swear I could feel him touching my bum, but I thought maybe I was making excuses for him, right? I was like, oh, maybe he's just standing close and the train's moving and he's, because it was very gentle, but he was doing it. He was touching my bum, and I was too scared to turn around and be like, no, and I was sort of moving away and he was still doing it. If I was here, I think I would have felt more safe sort of saying something or just moving, but we were stuck in this position, we were crammed in, and I just didn't feel confident enough to turn around, and because I don't know how he was going to react. Like, I mean, people always say, like, I would have punched him or I'd have done this, but you don't know how someone's going to react. Like, he could have had a knife or anything, so I wasn't going to risk anything, so I just ignored it. When we got off the train, he got off the train too. Again, I did the thing, we stood to the side and stopped. He watched us for a bit and then he got back on the train, and then when he got back on, he stood behind another girl who was by herself this time, and he was looking at me from the train, and I'd had a bit to drink, so I was like this, and he was blowing kisses, and I was like, oh my god, you know fine well what you're doing. And I thought, god, I really just hope that girl's alright. Again, in the train station, we were walking upstairs and there was men downstairs who were shouting up at us, and we were going, I went 9, and they were like 9, and we had a lot of men shouting at us. A lot of times as well, I don't know how common this is, I'm assuming it's pretty common, but we had a lot of times men coming up to us when we were buying tickets to try and sell us a different ticket, like sell us a group ticket, and a lot of the times we'd just say no and they'd leave. But this one man in particular, he came up, he was trying to sell us a group ticket. He wasn't trying to sell us it, he was like, I have this group ticket here. We're assuming he wanted money for it, because why would he be offering us this ticket? And he looked a bit dodgy. I don't know if he was on something or what. He was very kind of erratic. I said, no thank you, and he said no. He's like, why not? He was like, you take this. He's like, you need this. And I was like, we're okay. I was like, we're going to get this. He's like, see, you don't even know what you're doing. And he was getting aggressive, and I was like, we're fine. Leave us alone. We're like, what the hell? Why are you getting so angry? So that happened a couple of times, but he was the one that he was like getting annoyed at the fact that we weren't taking him on. And a lot of times as well, lovely older women came up to us to help us. We knew what we were getting, but we had one like older woman come up and help us get a kind of cheaper ticket, which was nice. That happened a couple of times, which was appreciated. The majority of the people are so lovely, but we just had so many of these different experiences that it was like, we were trying to find an amazing pizza place. I would highly recommend it. It's a vegan pizza place called Pizza Banda. Pizza Banda, lovely pizza. But while we were trying to find this bloody pizza place, we went a stupid way. We were on one side of the road initially next to the water, and then we crossed the road and it was all these sort of dilapidated houses with graffiti everywhere, and we were walking towards where the map was telling us to go, and then I was like, wait a minute, stop. And we looked, and we had to walk through this tree bit, shaded area, and we saw a little drug deal happen in the distance, and we're like, we're so used to that by now that we're like not even thinking about it. But there was just a group of about 5 men standing in the trees, just standing, looking, and I stopped and I was like, Steph, I can't walk through there. Like 5 big men standing looking at us in the distance in the trees. I'm like, no. So we crossed over. I just thought, oh my god, imagine we walked through there. Like, maybe they were harmless, but they were just staring at us. And I thought, I'm not comfortable enough to walk through this group of men. So we crossed over, and then we tried to find other ways to try and get through it. And there was just men, just solo men standing. I think they were selling drugs. They were just hanging about in between cars or like in doorways, just staring. And it was really intimidating. But we eventually found a pizza place. The guys were lovely. It was so good, and I would really recommend it. There was lots of experiences like that where there was just men hanging about and we just didn't feel safe enough to walk past them because of the stariness going on. Oh yeah, this was a fun one. We were in the station, we bought a baguette. I love their salami and cheese, oh my god. This man stopped Steph and he's like, he started talking in German. We kept saying to people, mein Deutsch ist nicht so gut, or mein Deutsch ist schlecht. So just to tell them that our German's not the best, so if we suck then that's why. The man said English and Steph said yeah. He was sweating and he was erratic, and he was just a normal looking German guy. Maybe in his 30s, just normal looking, but was sweating and was like, would you like to go for dinner with me today, or do you have a boyfriend? And Steph said, I have a boyfriend, and he just left. And then he instantly walked up to another girl, who by the way was about 14, and they asked the exact same thing, and she was like, and she got weirded out. And then you saw him going about to all these young girls, like they were all underage apart from Steph. It's not funny, but I was just like, what the? He was just going about asking random underage girls if they wanted to go for dinner with him, and I'm thinking, is he okay? Clearly not. But it was just so bizarre. We were going to deport him but we couldn't find him, but we did that thing where we assumed someone else was going to report it. It's a kind of a hard thing to explain in another language. That's what I noticed in Hamburg, is other people are good. You know, here sometimes you think someone else will deal with that, but everybody has that mentality. There's a name for it. It's like, I learned about it in psychology. It's like you assume somebody else is going to deal with something, so you don't do it and then nothing gets done. And there I noticed that people stop a lot when stuff is happening, and like over and over people stop and people help people. So I just assumed somebody will report him and something will get done about him. He wasn't aggressive and he took no for an answer really quickly, but it was like, why are you going around asking underage girls to dinner? Apart from Steph, because she's well of age. And then the last experience, well actually it's not the last experience, it's just the last one I've written down. We'd had a few mojitos at this point. We found this amazing outdoor cocktail bar in the Reeperbahn. They did cocktails for €6, and then we found another bar opposite that was kind of rocky, quite quirky, and they did like bigger cocktails for €8 and they were lovely. I was a little bit drunk, Steph was okay, I had more than her. We got on the train and a group of guys, probably about our age, stood next to us, and they're all really nice looking guys. So initially when they got on I was like, oh, I had my back to them a little bit and they were right next to me, they were like right against me. I didn't move for some reason, I was just like, you know how you freeze and you're like, oh god. But I didn't think anything of it, and Steph was looking at them like a bit kind of like, and she told me after, she's like, I did not like the way they were looking at you. She said they were looking me up and down and she just didn't like the way they were looking at me. They started speaking to me and one said, where are you from? And I said, Scotland. Usually people make conversation and they're like, oh, Scotland, why are you here, blah blah, but they weren't very friendly. And he just said, instantly, as soon as I said Scotland, he went, where are you staying? And I'm like, that's not something you ask someone right away. Instantly I just went, we're staying with friends, we're staying in Ham with a friend. And then he went, and they just left it and they didn't talk to us after that. But they were just really stary, Steph said, and I was like, what? That's not something you ask someone when, like, creepy? That is creepy. And I thought, imagine I actually was drunk and like said without thinking, oh, we're staying in Generator Hamburg, like imagine. That wouldn't have been fun. So those are all the experiences I wrote down, but after that there was still experiences of like being stared at, being shouted at, being leered at, being followed. It happened so much, mainly in the train stations. Yeah, it got to the point where even at the airport, even though we'd left, at the airport whenever a group of guys came near me or whenever I saw a man on his own, I was like just stay away from them. It's horrible, like it just felt really unsafe at all times, constantly having your back up. Here you do experience creepy things here and there, and you get catcalled sometimes, or like, but it's not constant. It's, well, it is for some people, but like, and it is in some places, but this I've never experienced. We were there for 4 days. It was constant. It just felt like it was happening all the time, and I've never experienced that in my life, and I've never felt so on edge in anywhere before. And I thought, god, I never thought that I would experience that in Germany of all places. And I know that these things happen everywhere, and I still absolutely love Germany. Like, I'm still dying to go back. I just wouldn't really go back to that bit that we're staying in, but I've still enjoyed Hamburg, and I still had mainly, you know, good experiences with people, and the people were lovely and friendly, and it was just spoiled a little bit by these absolute creeps. That was our trip to Hamburg, which is a shame. Oh my god, I missed that window so much. And then the last night we were just sitting looking out the window, and a light went on in the hotel up in one of the windows, and you just saw this old woman, boobs out, this old naked man next to her, and then they start having sex, and we're like, so that happened as well. Hamburg was interesting. I really don't want this video to put people off visiting Hamburg, because it's still a really nice place and it's an interesting place. I really do think it's just because of where we stayed and that first experience of walking in a bad area, and we shouldn't have, and we probably should have researched it a little bit more, but anything we did see was like all positive. So I don't want anyone to be put off by going to Hamburg for that reason, because you have to get your wits about you anywhere. I think maybe we were just a little bit unlucky, I don't know. It's never happened before in Germany is what I'm trying to say. I would still travel to Germany myself, like places, just maybe not there. But yeah, that was our experience. Hope you enjoyed it. I've got a Patreon page now, by the way, if you're interested. I'll link it below if you want to support me on there, and you can get different perks for different tiers and stuff. If you like my content, you should subscribe. It's free, and if you want notified of when I upload, then click the notification bell. Bye. Still love you, Germany. I'm sorry I bashed you in this video. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you later. Bye.